Welcome to the X Podcast. I'm here with my guys, Tim and Russ, and we are in what is this, the City of Angels?
This is City of Angels.
I mean, we don't do this very often. And it's a special time. We're here for the Arena Conference, and we conned you into coming, Tim.
Yeah, last minute, they're like, you got to come.
So I've never been. You guys have come to a Mosaic Conference before, but a part of the Arena. Tell us, what this is all about.
Oh, how far back do we go? So the Arena itself is kind of a mastermind leadership community. The connection to what we're a part of now is a leader in LA, Earl McManus, that we've mentioned him on the podcast, but someone who's inspiring in a lot of different fields. He's an author, a business person, a fashion designer, filmmaker, but he's a pastor here in LA. He's been pastoring here for 40 years, and his books have impacted me for probably 20 years. But is a voice that I began listening to a lot again about 5 or 6 years ago. Has a podcast that's impacted a lot of us. Out of that podcast has had communication courses that turned into something called the Arena, and it is a community designed to elevate the way you think, your leadership, communication.
Yeah.
And out of that, they have their second annual conference this week.
You know what's exciting to me, because you guys are my pastors and you're also my friends, and any time that we can experience things together that kind of marries the business world and leading people, with the mindset of how can we do this in a way to change people's lives. Like anytime that we can experience something like that together, it just seems really cool. And this is one of those unique opportunities.
Absolutely.
I love it.
What do you have to say about this?
I was not expecting to be here 5 days ago.
Yeah.
And you guys just kind of kept saying, you got to come, you got to come, you got to come. And I said, okay, let's go. And so part of the fun of this is getting to travel with my friends and getting to enjoy. And so here we are in the beautiful city of Los Angeles. I can kind of see it. I can kind of not see it.
Could
If you
look
like
at
smog level 9, right?
Yes, it's a bit, yeah.
If the camera could look out of the corner of its eyes, we are on level 70.
Yeah.
We're on the 70th floor.
Yep.
Overlooking the city. It's a little bit of a smoggy day.
The Intercontinental
Yep. Here
Hotel.
in downtown, which has been good. Russ and I did a lot of coffee drinking this morning.
So good.
The conference starts tomorrow. But and I want to ask you a question. Is it really enjoyable to sit next to me on a plane? Because I think I just interrogate you about everything the whole time.
If I had any thoughts or notions of getting any work done, that flew right out the window when I sat next to Kevin on that. We just had great conversation about business and ministry and leadership decisions and catching up. And I think it prepares us mentally for this conference.
I wanted to ask you guys, when you go into an environment like this where we don't really know what's going to be talked about, we really don't know many of the speakers. What are you hoping to get? How are you approaching these next 2 days? And why do you do things like this at all? Like, why do you invest in yourself? Why do you put yourself in these environments where you hear different opinions on things?
Yeah, some people would probably think it's crazy to spend the amount of money and fly the amount of miles to come to a conference. We are probably in a rare minority, maybe, that would do that. I think for me, it's layered. One is the impact in the community, again, that these leaders have had. But number two, I think, as cliche as this may sound, we should never underestimate the power of being in the right room. No matter what you're going through in life, or whatever thing you need to scale in your business, or problem you need to solve, or a solution that you need to figure out, sometimes being just in the right room around the right minds, hearing a fresh perspective, can literally shift everything. I know my life has been changed practically in moments by just choosing to be in the right room. Moments when I didn't know I was in the right room. Spiritually, my life's been redirected because I was in the right room.
Give me an example.
Shifted. Oh, my gosh.
Because I feel like so many times you come to something like this and you're like, I can't wait to hear the one thing that's going to be what I need. But really, it's not that. It's all the surrounding factors. It's the relationships you build. It's the person you meet when you're sitting next to them. And like the conversations we had on the plane, conversations we have in the hotel room. So give me an example of something that a memory that comes to mind of something, how your life's changed.
Oh,
or your perspective's changed.
Yeah, I think, one thing could be when I had family that lived here in LA, and even just choosing to fly out and visit them. I came one time, and someone that was connected to this community, we made a connection and chose to go to lunch, and just being in that lunch created connections that led to even being in these moments. And I think because of those connections, I'm trying to think of just different examples, but because of those connections and meeting certain people, it led me to read books that changed the way I thought about life. It led me to change the way I approach certain seasons. Even like right now, I have a personal project of a book I'm about to come out with, and I've been stuck on, okay, what do I call it? Was stuck for months and months and months and months, and I'm paying more money than I have in my budget to be a part of the arena community. But because I'm in that community, every time that I'm tempted to think, Russ, who are you to invest in yourself? I'm surrounded by people that kind of like you that are saying, no, you need to believe in yourself more. You need to invest in yourself more. The cumulative effect of being in that weekly community and conversations with people like you caused me not to shrink back, but to move forward. And then even practically, I was stuck on, what am I even going to call my book? But because I chose to step into that lunch a couple years ago, because I chose to step into these conferences, I'm now a part of this community where I finally got up the nerve on a call to ask somebody that's kind of like a hero to me, hey, here's my book. I don't know what to call it. And in 30 seconds, it was a virtual room, but in 30 seconds, he spoke such wisdom and revelation to me, insight into the very topic I've been studying for 2 years, that decided what my title is going to be about what I'm about to come out with. That's a small thing, but I mean, I've had moments, when in my high school years where I was personally kind of just side railed, and then I would step into a spiritual room that I was very hesitant to step into, but then I left that room completely different. My mindset changed, my heart lifted, my burden seeming lighter.
Yeah, one thing that I've heard said before is like, what you don't know can't hurt you. I call garbage on that.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely, what you don't know can't hurt you. And until you step out, and that's one thing that's been transformational for me, is you just learn new things. You have to get around people who push you to the next level. And I think, just to play on your two personalities for a second, I think you and me are a lot more alike as far as we kind of live in la la land, And so even if there's not a direct result of us being here, and even if we don't take a note the entire time, like we still like, that was incredible. Not that you wouldn't, but you're just we had a conversation.
What
backstage.
is that?
I don't know what this means.
Is it just a value for experiences?
Yeah, I think we just like to travel, right? Here's an excuse to go.
I have a higher
somewhere.
value for knowledge than I do experiences.
Sure. And we were arguing backstage, not arguing, but you were about to go preach, and I had just led worship.
Yeah.
And we were waiting, and we were talking, and you'd asked me how a conference I'd been to was. And or I had one upcoming or something, and you're like, what are you looking at? I'm like, I don't know. And we were talking about this conference, and is there any value? Should I go? Should I invest in these relationships? I don't know. And then after I had gotten back from one I went to last weekend, I was like, dude, you're coming. You're coming. So how do you approach these things? What are some internal arguments you have as to why you shouldn't go, and why did you come?
What took you so long?
How do I approach these things? Here's my history with these. Sometimes I don't make time for them because I'm so busy, which is probably a terrible excuse, but it's sometimes just reality. Like we've got things that we're flying red eye Saturday night back to be back in. I've got a conference on Monday and Tuesday. I've got another night at our church that I have to prepare for the next night, and so the variety of reasons, but the biggest one was I just didn't want to give up the time because of what I had to do and prepare for. Being at these though, and I'm glad I'm here. I can reflect back and go, there were so many different moments where I did go to conferences, and I think you asked the question, like, what do you expect to get out of this? I have very little expectation of what to get out of it. Not because I don't think it's going to be valuable, but I felt like every time I go to these, I'll have some expectation of, I have that problem. All right, I need to address this. And I get in there and it never even speaks to that, but I walk away with something else that's maybe even more valuable than just a solution for a problem. And I can think back, honestly, I will say I could point back to conferences and things that I went to that were so transformational that it literally changed the trajectory of our church.
Remember you telling us a story about the C3 conference you went to in Dallas?
That was,
and that's
when
when you
2006 went to first time. It's really hard for people today, I think, to remember what, if they weren't old enough to remember what it was like back in the early 2000s, where it's like the internet is still kind of fairly new. You're just not that connected. You don't know what everybody else is doing, And our church startup has been struggling for a few years, and had a picture in mind of what we wanted the church to be, but had no idea what that looked like. We didn't. I mean, we had some things that we wanted to do, but we had no idea how to do them. So finally, we kind of find out about a conference I'd never even heard of, a church I'd never heard of in Dallas, Texas. And I was like, let's go to this conference. So another couple came with us. We went to the conference, blew our minds, connected us with other ministries, pastors, just hearing them speak, and started to follow them, that we got resources from that began to shape and change our mindset about how we did church, just in so many different things. It really did revolutionize. And yet it was the same vision I had no idea how to get there. Showing up at a conference like that started to give me direction. It was like illuminating a path of like, hey, start moving in this direction. And so it's been a journey, and I think I always am surprised when I walk away from a conference and I didn't expect what would happen. So I think for me, when I approach something like this, and again, I didn't have it on my radar just because I felt like I didn't have the time to go, but decided to move things around. I mean, it's got things I got to figure out in between, but I was going to make time to be here. And so I've coming with this low expectation of, I need an answer. I need this. I'm kind of just coming in like open. I would just say I'm coming in open, like whatever. I know something's going to speak to me. I know this. And then probably the second thing is that I know is super valuable out of these is the connections and the networking. And I think that may be worth it in itself.
And all the value you get from just talking with interesting people.
Yes.
I think that, you get stuck in your own world, and you talk with the same people every day, talk to the same, employees, employers every day. You talk to the same colleagues, talk to your family, then you get in your rhythm. There is, in my opinion, my brain just opens up.
Yeah.
And I see my own life differently when you're able to detach, when you're able to completely disrupt what you could do every single day, day in, day out.
Yeah, I've quoted it ad nauseum, but I'm going to quote it again based off what you just said. Mark Batterson said that a change of pace plus a change of place equals a change of perspective. And you don't know that you're in a rut while you're in the rut.
Yep.
And I think it's just important, no matter whether we're creatures of habit or rhythm or routine. Routine has its place. I've been thinking a lot about this, how routine is a great tool, but a terrible master.
Yeah.
And I think we need to violate our routine actually pretty regularly so that we don't stay stuck, because we don't know what we don't know. And like you said, there's fascinating conversations. And it's funny, even full circle, because you mentioned Dallas, Texas. And I feel like I was stumped earlier when you asked me. You're like, which one? Because 1,000 different moments come to mind. But 2014, I visited Dallas, Texas to go to this huge conference, and I ended up meeting somebody there. I mean, the conference was great, and it was refreshing and inspiring, but I ended up meeting somebody that was a part of that organization that come 2016, when I felt stuck personally and professionally, this person from Dallas, Texas, had taken an interest in me. We'd built a relationship.
Yeah.
And when finally it was about my time to leave my place in my organization in 2018, and I didn't know where I was going to go, this person from Dallas, Texas, connected me with this guy named Tim Moore, who called me.
Yeah.
And now my whole life has been transplanted to Columbus, Ohio, and I'm in one of the greatest seasons of my life. So you never know what you're going to learn, and you never know who you're going to meet, and you're never going to, this sounds so ethereal, you never know what's going to be expanded inside of you. Like, it sounds so ethereal, but you know what it's like when you get around somebody and maybe you don't even remember what they said, but you remember how they made you feel, and you left the conversation believing in yourself more. You left the conversation filled with a broader vision of the world, and you left the conversation filled with a deeper conviction for what's in you and what you're called to do. And I feel that when I'm with both of y'all. But the room we're going to be in, the kind of people that are in that room, I think make me almost nauseated in a good way, because I know I'm going to be challenged that I could be living for so much more. And I think we just underestimate that visceral but ethereal effect of being around people that just make you leave different in your spirit.
Yeah. And it's interesting, when Russ and I were scheming to get you here, one thing that sticks out in my mind is if you find a community outside of your own that you can be consistent with.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to go to a conference one time. Great. You can learn things and meet people. It's amazing. I'm a part of one other real estate community that I've been consistently going to, even just over the last 2 years. I think I've done like 4 events with them. And what's great is you get to meet, you almost build like this family, this broader family that you learn from and you connect with. We text all the time. We encourage each other on social media, and it's like real estate stuff. So I've really found a lot of value. And now the conference that I started, I went by myself on a whim. Oh my gosh, I've never spent this kind of money on a ticket before. The conference I went to 2 years ago is the same group that I just spoke at and got to share, 2 years later.
So cool.
And I got to go and, talk to the people that were just like me 2 years ago. Yeah. And so I've just found so much value in that community. And specifically this one, you guys are more connected to this group than I am. I obviously love the people that lead it. Yeah. Pastor Irwin and Aaron, all those guys, like I love them. But you guys have the connections here. And you guys have this pre-built relationship and these investments you've already made here. So I was like, well, why in the world would you not come to this with 2 people who are as cool as Russ and I?
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm here. I couldn't.
Let me ask you this, because the 3 of us are so different, but also there's some ways when it comes.
Not all 3 of us are dressed different.
He put on the same
I was wearing this
shirt.
first. Let's be honest.
He said, "Can I match you for the podcast?" I said,
Yeah,
that's weird.
That's exactly what didn't happen.
But the 3 of us are so different in a lot of ways, and we'll talk about some of your organizational impressiveness and quirks later, and how you even packed for this trip. But the 3 of us are very similar, probably in drivenness, though the manifestation may look different. But I think there are a lot of people, and I'm curious y'all's thoughts, that their hurdle, maybe even if they don't articulate it this way, is I don't deserve to invest in myself to that extent. Like, why? Because there has to be a certain sense of either desperation or self-belief that would cause you to say, no, I'm going to invest in myself. I think some may even view it as irresponsible or selfish to invest in themselves.
Well, it's funny because you see, like, it's really popular right now for a lot of like social media gurus, self-help people, business people, whatever, say always invest. The best investment you can make is an investment in yourself, but it's the hardest one to make because there's not a return that you can quantify always. You think, well, if I spend this $2,000, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 on this ticket, that like, it just seems like I'm lighting that money on fire. Yeah. Like, unless I come back with something that can make me $50,000 or $10,000 or help their church do this or whatever, it's just so hard because the outcome is really opaque and it's not clear. And so how would you describe like a return on investment for something like this?
It's hard to quantify. I really do. I think that's probably, on the back burner, that's some of my hang up sometimes of doing this is like, when you don't have something that you're looking to get out of it, it's hard to qualify. Like,
talk to you're like, I literally do not understand like what could possibly, like, what sort of return could I even dream up?
Yeah, this conference is a little bit different. Obviously, I'm in a ministry context, and again, there's business on the backside of what you do, even in faith and leading a church. And so leadership, some of it is just a little bit of ignorance. I honestly have no clue. Like, it's like, some of the conferences, if I go to a conference, it's church leadership says, okay, I know what I'm walking into. I know that there's going to be something that's going to be, great for me, to take away from. But when I go to this conference that is a little bit more of a personal development business leaders speak it into, in my mind, what is the translation for me? What is that thing that's going to be really impactful for me? So I think that's why when you ask the question, what do you come here for? I'm like, number one, I get to travel with some of my best buds. Number two, there are some great people, family that we've connected with out here that we really admire. I love Aaron. I love Erwin. I love the way they think. I love the way they challenge me to think. It's even just the way, there's just a lot about what they do in the way ministry that I love. It connects with me. There's just something about internally it connects with me. So it's like, I mean, he's one of the pastors that I love to just kind of follow. And from even an intellectual standpoint and the way he thinks about things, I just love it. And so part of it was like, oh, we come out here and get to see him again and connect with again. But beyond that, for development and all that, I'm here hoping that through osmosis that I am able to pull some things that are going to really inspire and give me ideas and creativity. And it's just hard to qualify that because maybe this is why it's kind of more of a business seminar than it is maybe church. It's kind of like, can I take that, put it into practice, and what is that going to net me? Whereas in the business world, you're going, I'm paying $2,000 to go to this conference. I'm hoping to come away with 3 ideas that's going to turn and make $50,000. You know what I mean? That's kind
of what I've noticed is never not a bet on yourself,
right?
And when you go spend money on yourself in this way, you're taking a gamble that you have what it takes to turn raw information, other people's experiences and stories, other people's success, download it, and spit out something that improves your life.
Yeah. I love the osmosis because when I talk about being in the room, that's part of it. It's an environmental osmosis. They talk about human beings are open loop creatures. We like to think that we're never affected. We are affected in different degrees by our interactions, our relationships, and the environments and moments we put ourselves in. And one can shift us, incredibly to the detriment, and others can propel us completely into the future. And, one of the things I was just sitting here thinking about is my devil's advocate on, okay, that's a lot of money to spend and time to take out to go somewhere. And my mind immediately went to King Solomon in Scripture. And, whether you're a person of faith, every business reads through Proverbs, whether they know they're reading through Proverbs or not. It's just common sense, universal wisdom, practical, tactical help. And it's time tested. But Solomon was known to be the wisest person that ever lived. And there was a queen of a region, Queen of Sheba, and she traveled all the way. This is for planes, for trains, for cars. Some estimates are it may have taken her 3 to 6 months to reach him, and it would have been life-threatening journey to go there. And we're told she went for one reason, to sit at his feet and to absorb the wisdom that she had heard about. And I think about that from time to time. And I'm like, and we live in the day where you don't have to risk your life and take a 6-month journey. Many times for free, we can hit download, or we can take 15 minutes to read. But we didn't take a 6-month journey. We just took a 6-hour journey to get into the room with some of the most incredible thinkers and communicators in the world.
And people have different experiences than us.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I think there's 2 ways to grow. You can go to the school of hard knocks, or you can learn from somebody who has already gone through the school of hard knocks. You think about information with people that has compounded and when you download someone's information, when you listen to what they say, when you just submit to teaching in any environment, you're receiving a collection of all their experiences as well. And so, I don't know. They feel like there's different industries. There's different lines of work that this is more common than others. But I don't know if there's any sort of entrepreneurial environment where this is not helpful.
And there's also a principle too, because I think all 3 of us listen to podcasts and read, try to listen to stuff. And depending on your place in life, you'd be listening to this, you're like single mom or dad with 3 kids. You're like, yeah, I would love to do that. Not feasible for me right now. But I do think whatever the context looks like, whether it's paying an extra $10 to $20 for a book or a little one-day conference, there is that principle in business, and I think in every industry, where when you don't pay, you tend to not pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can get skin in the game and you can make an investment,
yeah,
all three of us listen to a lot of the guys that we'll probably be listening to this weekend. But what happens in that room by making the sacrifice this weekend, I have a feeling it's going to stick with us and have a way deeper dividends.
You know, I used to pray all the time. I heard somebody preach a message, and they talked about how they would pray for supernatural favor from God and from others. Okay, and that God would connect me. God, would you connect me to the people that want the best for me and can help put me in different rooms. And when you're in these environments, and like if you go and spend $1,000 to come see me, I think differently of you. I do.
Yeah.
I automatically, there's just something innate that like, wow, he spent money to come see me. He took time out of his life to come experience me. You're building favor with people. You know, that's not why you do it, but it's just one of the sideways consequences that comes out of these things is that, hey, like, I believe in what you're teaching. I'm here to listen to you. It's great to see you. Thanks for shaking my hand.
I think one of the challenges we have in our current culture today, which is we are overwhelmed with information. I mean, never before have we had a library like we do YouTube, where you can almost, or AI, Google searches, where you can know something about everything in a matter of a moment.
So is this different?
But this one's, well, that's why I think this is different. I think there's a quality of information that matters. I think you can get all kinds of ideas and random things online, and it's free and it's cheap. I think some of the best advice, some of the best information, some of the most quality things you'll ever learn to hear, you're going to pay for. Oh. It's not going to be free.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
And I think, well, because I think people who possess the most wisdom, people who have the most experience, know their value. And they're not just going to give it for free to just anybody, because they know what it costs them to get. And I think today's culture, where it's so easy and it's like we have access to so much that we're like, I don't want to spend money. I don't want to pay for this information. I don't want to pay for this wisdom. I'll just listen to this or this person. But I think the quality of what you learn is so important. That's what you pay for when you come to a mastermind class, when you come to an event. You're paying to be in the room with someone that either you respect or someone you go, they actually know what they're talking about. And I can trust this source of information, because you can't trust everything that you hear online or read online.
Not only that, because the information without context and texture is near impossible to implement. So it's one thing to hear about, in my line of work, wholesaling real estate. There's a lot of people that talk online about, I wholesaled this one deal, I made $40,000. It's a whole nother thing to say, hey, I heard you say that on stage. Like, how do I figure out how that happened? And they can texturize it for you and give you context and point you even further in the right direction. I just think that it is funny how we literally have access to all the things we're probably going to hear. These probably aren't talks that they're giving for the very first time. Like there's probably a video of these same talks on the internet somewhere else, but for some reason, this environment is completely different.
And I think the community aspect is powerful, because again, I think some of the greatest things I've gotten from conferences I've gone to, even recently, wasn't even the content, but it was the community. It was the people that I walked away, that I built a relationship with. And, I'd say one of my, and I don't have any preconceived ideas about this, but one of the things that kind of was a motivator for me to invest last minute, which means you're paying last minute airfare prices. We were on the phone, what was it, Monday or Tuesday night? And we're like booking our flights and all this stuff. One of the things that's in the back of my mind is, I don't know what these environments, I don't know what future doors they're going to open. And what I do know is not putting myself into these kind of moments is probably a sure way to not ever see any of those doors open. So I don't even know what that means, what I'm looking for, but all I know is I'm at a place in my journey, my leadership journey, my just life where, I'm looking for doors to open, for opportunities that I want to walk into in the future, things like that. And so I think some of it is like getting in a room, paying the price to connect, to make connections, networking, meeting people, building relationships. I don't want to ever devalue what that may open a door for in the future, but I can't qualify that. You know what I mean? It's like hard to kind of go, I'll put a price tag on. I don't know, but I'm just trusting that making this decision to be here is going to potentially one day open a door.
It's so funny because last time I went to something like this, I paid $10,000 for the ticket. And I really didn't have it. So, but I paid $10,000 for this ticket, got me into a special dinner with Ed Milet, of all people. And I didn't really know of Ed Milet, but I quickly wanted to know about him after I spent that money. I just wanted, I wanted to be the most invested person in this group of 1,000 people. And I wanted to get in the room. Like, if I'm going to go to Vegas, which is where it was, if I'm going to sit there I want people to know my name. And they might laugh at me. I've had people at that same conference that said, I don't work with people as new as you. We were talking about that earlier. And, I've met some great people, made some amazing connections. But after spending that money last time, I was really actually praying because it was like it's for some reason emotional to spend that kind of money when you never have before on something like this. I was like, God, I just want to know that this is in some way wise, and if it's not wise, tell me I'll never do it again, you know? And I walked in, and there was some special party in the penthouse that we went to, walked in, go to get a drink, and the first person I met was a Hispanic gentleman, and what do you do? What do you do? Oh, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I raise money for real estate. And he goes, oh, that's funny. We just sold our company, and we're looking to invest passively with house flippers, just like you. I said, that's so funny. I've got a deal that I'm doing right now. And so they ended up sending me, we partnered on a deal, split the profit 50-50. They wired the title company $150,000 to buy a house. And I made $30,000 on that deal.
That was a great investment.
So literally there was a
tangible.
And I had been praying that the week before. And I don't say it to say, look, I made all this money. I mean, I'm just saying like that would have never happened.
Yeah, listening to you talk about, there's that posture of, I know that there's more and I don't know what it is and I'm not going to force it. But I want to just put myself in the rooms. I want to be available.
That's a great way of saying it.
I don't know, Kevin, if you even remember this, but I think it was like a few Januaries ago in our faith context, we did like a fast, and we had a whole conversation around grow your know. That whole idea, which is really big right now, and it's great. It's all about, hey, we need to have wisdom with boundaries. We need to have wisdom and self-moderation. We need to be able to deny ourselves and have discipline, and that's really big right now, and I think that's important. But I've been thinking the last year, I'm like, I wonder if we've gone so far as a culture on growing our no that a lot of us have lost the muscle to say yes. That because of comfort or because of our bubble or because of safety or because of whatever. And there's that old Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man.
Yeah.
Where you have the weird kind of cult-like guru guy that makes him say yes to everything and it changes his whole life. And obviously we shouldn't say yes to destructive things, but maybe somebody's listening and they're like, I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the time to do that. This is a different level or scale than where I'm even at in my own life. But I do think a potentially life-changing paradigm shift is have a season where you grow your yes. And even if I don't want to be in community, but they're asking me to go to this thing all the time, I always say no, say yes. If somebody invites you on a trip and you think of every reason you can't go on the trip, go. If somebody invites you into an opportunity, do it.
Not only that, I totally agree with that. There are so many things I've learned about myself by putting myself in unfamiliar environments. We've been talking all weekend. I mean, as we ping pong back and forth, talking about different things, as you completely doused my dreams of becoming an author and the book idea that I had last night on the flight.
Sorry, it was only like 1 a.m. when you asked me.
As I've been working through my pastor telling me that I am wrong and I shouldn't follow my dreams.
I hope people recognize the sarcasm in his voice.
ask Russ, kind of sarcastic.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Your answer wasn't verbal. It was found in the fact that you rubbed your face and fell asleep.
It was 1 a.m. we just landed in LA, exhausted and tired, been up all day.
What happened was I told them
nothing to
this
do with
secret thing I've never told anybody.
It's not going to be a secret because I'm about to say what it is.
Don't say it.
I'm going to say what it is.
I don't want you to say it. Don't say it. I'm telling him this dream, this amazing thing I've got going on, and he looked like he just found out that he was going to have brain surgery.
Had nothing to do with
what
you were saying.
That it was gonna, anyway.
I was having a moment.
What I was saying was, we've been talking. One of the things I've tried to share to you guys is like, here are some things I didn't know about myself. Mm-hmm. I'm in this room full of people who do what I do, and here are some ways that I felt like, oh, I might be really good at that.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I might be excelling in that area more than I thought I was because I don't have a context. Or that, I was able to help this person. One of the things I talked about, I'll share, because I got to do a little talk. I told you about one person that had given a talk at the same conference before, and I worked up the courage to go say hi to him, introduce myself. And I had at the time done like 2 extremely small deals, just getting started. Don't even think I was in real estate full time. Took off work to go to this thing. And I was like, I'd love to learn from you. Thanks so much. That was very helpful. Like, what can how can I learn from you more? How can I connect with you more? And they looked at me and said, oh, we don't help newbies. And I was like, oh, and I had to work over that a little bit. And so now this newbie got to go give a talk on the same stage.
That's awesome.
And this newbie remembers what it was like to be a newbie in the room. Mm-hmm. And now when I see somebody who maybe is a little more introverted, maybe is a little scared to be, in a big environment, I go over to them and I can talk to them and I can encourage them. And so my point is that if you go invest in yourself consistently enough, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You just learn things about yourself that you would never learn elsewhere.
Yeah. So good.
That's so good.
I can't wait.
It's going to be great.
I can't wait for
my books.
Yes. I can't wait for your books. I can't wait for the conference. I love the fact that I get to do it with my best friends. Like literally traveling with guys that you just enjoy being with. I mean, we're having a blast.
We have had a blast.
We have a lot of fun, and I know the conference is going to be great, partially because we're going to get to be part of it together.
Yeah, for sure.
And the connections it's going to make. So that's good. I'm excited.
That's going to be great. Now, I just want to give people a little nugget because we're on a dual podcast here. It's going to be Kevin Milet's show and the X podcast. Yeah. And, Russ, is there any secret thing about Pastor Tim traveling, staying with him that you'd like to tell everybody?
I'll tell you several things. Number one,
I have a little bit of time before we sign off as well. So
okay, I was just gonna say no. I mean, Pastor Tim,
and this is not about me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's totally
yeah. His love language. To say that your love language is efficiency.
Yes, that's my spiritual gift.
Would be the understatement of the solar system. He has a bag. It is a pull-out kit of something you'd see in a movie scene that it flips down, almost like one of those, and it has every type of cable. You jokingly said, "You got an HDMI cable in there?" There is.
There's one.
There's
just in case we want to record. Just in case we want to do this on the fly.
Right. And you are very judgmental about people that are not that way.
Wait,
because you judge me.
You didn't even bring chargers.
No, I bring chargers for what I have. I have a MacBook charger. I charge my phone at night if it's by my bed through my MacBook. Yeah. You do not like that.
I just think it's cute.
And
he said, "Why do you do that?"
I said, "Why don't you have a charger like a normal human?"
And then he pulls out a dedicated
Wasn't that
cord
beautiful?
case.
And that was here's the thing. Here's the thing you young people are going to find out. The older you get, the more you appreciate organization. And here's the difference between us. I show up with my carry-on, with my clothes separated in e-bags.
Oh, wow.
I got that from my wife. My wife's really good at this, right? It's all separated. You guys open it up, and it's just like stuff's just thrown in there before you had to go. Is that true?
Mine was folded.
Okay.
I don't like that. That's not true. And again,
mine
this is
folded.
not about me.
Oh.
So, okay, now you guys lead like a flock of people, right? So say something embarrassing about him.
Oh, where do I begin?
It's probably hard to find, huh?
Yeah. Well, he is so confident that it's hard to really find anything to pick at because it doesn't affect him because of his confidence. New book coming out.
Here's
very
the thing.
soon
I
by
wish
Russ
that
Moore.
was true.
Oh,
I think my favorite thing this morning, I don't know why I feel like we have to record this, but we take turns taking a shower, whatever, in the room, and I went first. Very complicated shower. Extremely
Honestly,
complicated.
the thing that happened to both you did not happen to me.
You had warning.
Well, I just
so
went
I
in
got
there
in the
and
shower and I'm trying to figure out this thing. It's like an abacus or something. You got to figure out what ends up.
You had to turn one knob
no, okay,
90 degrees.
Nobody
that was it. You just turned one knob 90
anyway,
degrees.
so when I went to go turn the shower off and you flip
far,
the thing off. Like in every other shower, there's
and we
on
just,
and then there's off.
And
you
we
flip
just
it the
hear
other way. It's common sense.
We just hear scream.
So I turn it off, and the water gets freezing cold and turns on more. I'm like, and you guys are laughing. I'm like, sorry, I messed it up. Anyway, then Russ takes his shower afterwards, and he did the same shriek. It was awesome.
I learned from both of you. That's the goal of what it is. No,
so
I actually
can say that
so I knew that there was something. I go in there and I see the off position, and I turn it on and get in and take a shower. When I get done, I go, oh, I know what they did. They flipped it all the way because that's what you naturally do.
Did.
So I went very carefully, straight up, and it stopped. It was beautiful.
So before we close, one last question. Put you on the spot.
Okay.
Tell me something you've learned from him.
From Kevin?
Yeah.
Oh, what haven't I learned from Kevin? One of the things I love about Kevin is bold. He's audacious. He is never afraid to ask questions.
I really like this part of the podcast.
One of the things I love, I do. I think Kevin is a fantastic question asker. I think you have. It's funny because you have a wealth of thoughts and ideas, but I can tell because they're always processing. We have all these conversations, and I value them. You're one of the people that kind of think outside the box. It's like when everybody else is thinking, oh, we should do this, and you're a contrarian, and you're an 8, and so you're the guy, the challenger, who's kind of like, maybe we shouldn't. And I always appreciated that. Even when you were on our team, I was like, it's great to have that person on the team who is going to just, I might be the only one in the room, but I love the way you always posture yourself to ask questions. I think even as wise as you are, because you're like, what, 39, 38? Like, how old are you?
29.
Are you really? 29? For 29 years old, the amount of wisdom, you've always had this. From the day you came on staff at the church, you had wisdom beyond what many, even people we had on staff, had that were way older, like 10, 15 years older than you. They had more experience. They had this. And you just have you just have a level of wisdom that I think it's really hard to find in a 29-year-old. And you just, that go-getter spirit, you are entrepreneurial. I think you're doing what I think you're in the right fit with what you are. I mean, you got bored every 6 months. And of course you realize I'll do that as well as an entrepreneur and I have to work through it. And so I think you're working through it. And I think that's part of maturing. It's fun to watch you. I'm just having a blast watching you be really successful.
And that was my favorite portion of the podcast. Thank you. Thank you. And I feel the same way about you guys. We got to close up. But, you guys are awesome. And, maybe we'll do a recap to this once we're done and share some of the thoughts, share some of the experiences.
That'd be awesome.
But thanks for taking the time, guys.
Boom. Boom. Let's go. Oh, Wonder Powers activate.
Hey guys, it's Russ. Thanks so much for listening. We really believe if we can get around tables instead of behind screens, if we can talk to each other instead of at each other, we can make the world better. To help us do that, here are a few things you can do to help. First, if you haven't yet, leave a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. This helps more than you know. Also, if you have been impacted by the community out of which this podcast comes, that's X-Church. Maybe you're local or you've been touched by the messages and impact across the country, even the world. I want to encourage you to support this work. A powerful life principle is to invest in the people and places that invest in you. And so I want to invite you to do that right now by going to thex.church/give. You can give a one-time small gift, a sacrificial gift, or even become a recurring partner. Together, let's keep elevating the conversation, thinking higher, loving deeper, and making the world better. Cheers.